Great. Hello, my name is Vicky Smallman. I am chair of the Board of Directors of Childcare Now, Canada's National Childcare Advocacy Association, and I will be chairing today's media conference. We're here today to draw attention to federal, provincial, and territorial governments' discussions underway at this very moment about the future of Canada's $10 a day childcare program. Over the last several months, several provinces have signaled that they're looking for changes to the Canada-wide early learning and childcare plan. Childcare advocates warn that this meeting may break the promise governments made to work towards a universally, primarily not-for-profit system of $10 a day licensed childcare for all across Canada. To speak to these concerns, we will hear very briefly from Morna Ballantyne, Executive Director of Childcare Now, Sheila Olan-MacLean, co-CEO of Compass Early Learning Centre, which operates licensed programs in Peterborough, Ontario, and neighbouring rural communities, Janet Amito, a member of the group Parents for Childcare, Leila Sarangi with Campaign 2000, a large national coalition of organizations working for the elimination of child and family poverty, and Siobhán Vipond, Vice President of the Canadian Labour Congress, representing more than 3 million workers across the country. Morna?
Good morning. In just 5 years, Canada's $10 a day childcare program has yielded far-reaching economic benefits. We all know that Canada's economy depends on people, especially more mothers, earning income and paying taxes. To get to work, moms like Janet, who's here with us today, need secure, low-fee childcare. Because of the large federal investments, parent fees have dropped dramatically, making life more affordable for close to 1 million families. The childcare sector has grown considerably and creating new jobs in early childhood education and spin-off jobs, employment for others. Childcare supply has grown by 190,000 licensed spaces. The childcare sector, which was decimated during the COVID pandemic, is now mostly publicly funded and therefore more robust. We congratulate federal, provincial, and territorial governments for this important progress, but they must do more. They must do more to eliminate wait lists, include all children, and make access equitable. They must do more to improve the compensation and working conditions for the childcare workforce so that qualified educators can be recruited and retained. Our organization, with 100 other major groups, call on the federal, provincial, territorial ministers responsible for early learning and childcare to strengthen the program. We fear they are going in the opposite direction. Some want to abandon their commitment to reduce fees for all parents. They want to transfer childcare costs back onto families. Some want to drop the goal of creating a primarily not-for-profit system and give more public money to commercial childcare providers instead. Yet the evidence shows that relying on for-profit care is more costly, less efficient, and fails to increase access. In 2021, the Government of Canada embarked with the provinces and territories on a long-term childcare project to make childcare universally accessible. They agreed to bring down fees for all parents and to support not-for-profit delivery. We vow to hold them to their promise.
Hi, I'm Sheila Olan-MacLean, and I am the co-CEO at Compass Early Learning and Care. It's a not-for-profit organization with 48 licensed programs and 80 home child care programs. We care for 4,000 children across South Central Ontario, and along with 700 incredible human beings as educators, nutritionists, and administrators, we work together with families and children to create the world we want to see. We asked children what kind of a world they want to live in, and this is what they told us. They want a world without sexism, greed, racism, and homelessness, and that it includes a world where they are safe, they're cared for, and they are with people who love them. This important work happens every day within childcare programs across this country. We are doing our part to make the world a kinder, more compassionate place for all, and here is what we ask. Families, children, and childcare sector are counting on the federal and provincial governments to strengthen and expand the $10 a day childcare program. To the federal government, we need your continued leadership to guide a high-quality, not-for-profit program. To the provincial governments, Canada can't work without childcare. Investments in childcare come back to the provincial coffers, netting a zero balance. Families are counting on you to continue and enhance the Canada-wide early learning and childcare program. What we need is a renewal of political will to meet the needs of childcare families, with more public funding from both levels of government for decent wages for the childcare workforce, for the expansion of childcare spaces, and the improved accountability and planning to ensure that public funds for childcare are used effectively and efficiently and stay within the public realm, not into private assets. There are times when politicians can make a positive difference for the future of their province and their country. This is one of those moments for many reasons. But all the jobs that you're saving and developing will not be helpful if there's no affordable, accessible childcare for the children and families. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Janet, and I'm a member of Parents for Childcare. I am an immigrant new to Canada and a single mother managing a low-income household. With my toddler in daycare, my family was counting on fees reaching $10 a day in Ontario by March. Unfortunately, Ontario has backtracked on this promise. We're paying $22 a day now, but we no longer know if or when fees will reach $10 a day in our province. If fees go up, it will not be feasible for me to pay for childcare for my son. I will not be able to work, but then how would I pay my bills? Childcare is one of the only cost that has gone down. Housing, food, and everything else is also expensive. Affordable childcare helps my family make ends meet. Without it, I am not sure what we would do. Maybe we would go back to the shelter and become social assistance recipients. We cannot afford to undo the progress that has been made so far towards $10 a day childcare. Since the program started, parents in Toronto, where my family lives, have seen their fees gone down by over $1,300 a month. If fees go up, many women will have to stay home to take care of their kids. In a country like Canada that supports gender equality, it is important that childcare stays affordable so we can reach our full potential as women. Moreover, I hear from parents all the time about the stress of long wait lists and not being able to find daycare spots. We can only tackle the waitlist problem if the provincial government and federal governments both step up to fund a plan that supports educators with fair wages and create enough new spaces for all families who need it. To the federal and provincial governments meeting today, we hope you are listening to parents and families. We need you to recommit a $10 a day childcare. Families are counting on you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Leila Sarangi. I'm here on behalf of Campaign 2000, a pan-Canadian coalition of organizations working to end child and family poverty. We believe childcare is a cornerstone of any serious anti-poverty reduction plan. Investments in our system over the past 5 years have led to important childcare expansions and gains for families with young children, with an estimated 900,000 parents benefiting from reductions in childcare fees. But we have a lot further to go. Our research shows that 1 in 5 children under the age of 6 live in poverty in Canada. That rate grows for families from marginalized communities, including Indigenous, racialized, newcomer, LGBTQ, those with disabilities, and lone parent families, where the rate of child poverty is nearly 1 in 2. Child poverty has worsened significantly since the pandemic, and families are living in deeper poverty. That means they have less income to meet their daily needs. These families are also most likely to be left out of the childcare system as it currently exists. Expansion goals have not been met. Without concrete public planning, there simply still is not enough licensed childcare in low-income neighborhoods. Even reduced fees remain out of reach for low-income families. Lone mothers with 2 children who live in poverty, for example, have a median income of about $29,000 a year, roughly $2,416 to cover all of her basic needs every month. For her, even $10 a day is not affordable. These families are still waiting on the promise of childcare so they can work, return to school, and build stability for their families. We know there is a strong return on childcare investments. More parents, especially mothers, enter the workforce. And for children, quality childcare is an equalizer. It helps to mitigate the long-term negative effects of growing up in poverty. That is why we are deeply concerned about any changes that weaken the commitments to a universal, primarily not-for-profit $10 a day system. We are here today to urge federal, provincial, and territorial ministers to stay the course and ensure that families who need childcare the most are not left behind. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Siobhán Vipond, and I'm Executive Vice President of the Canadian Labour Congress. I am proud to be here with all these allies and partners who have been, champions of us getting to a universal childcare system. And I'm here to talk about how the frontline work matters. It matters in our advocacy. It also matters in our communities. And what that looks like, it is dependent on what our childcare system looks like. So workers are counting on these voices that are here, and they're counting on our government to make sure that everybody has access to childcare. Because here today, it's a simple and urgent message: childcare now. Workers, especially women, need access to affordable, high-quality childcare at work. When childcare isn't there, workers, especially women workers, lone parents, cut back hours. They turn down jobs, they turn down promotions, or they leave the workforce altogether. So here, every day we hear from workers and parents everywhere that it's not enough. What's happening now needs to be expanded, and they need access to it. And this is not a new problem. I can tell you right now that my advocacy started when my child was in, a babe in arms, and now she's 16. But that is the story that everybody has, which is we keep fighting this. We know it's a good idea, and the reality is we have time. We don't have any more time to make this happen. The government has ambitious plans to grow the economy and create jobs, and Canada's unions are in support of that. We want those plans to succeed, but workers must be able to participate. We can't grow the economy without childcare. We can't build Canada without childcare. And quite honestly, no childcare means there's no workforce. So the system itself must grow, and we need this to mean now and meet this moment when we need a resilient Canada that is strong and able to push back. So with investments in public programs and services that people rely on, we know that we can reach that goal. And so this is what we need to do, starting with childcare. And let's not forget that there is no gender equality without affordable, accessible public childcare. You've heard the stories here, and if you talk to anybody, that this is essential to people fully participating in their lives on their terms. So we call on government for sustained public investment that is long-term, it's predictable, that we are funding this, that they protect and expand the childcare program for $10 a day, what exists now, but expand it. We also are calling for investments in infrastructure for these programs that families rely on to grow. So we are looking to the federal government, we're looking to every provincial government to do the work at the table to ensure that this is discussions around expanding and supporting it. Because workers can't work without childcare, and childcare doesn't exist without workers. Early childhood educators and childcare staff, They are educators, they're caregivers, they're community builders, and too often they are underpaid and overworked, and they end up leaving the workforce because they can't afford to stay. So investing in early childhood educators and childcare workers is essential. Making childcare good jobs, that has fair pay, that has security, benefits, and decent working condition is the only way to stabilize and grow the system. So investing in childcare can strengthen our economy, and childcare jobs that support families, workplaces, and the entire industries is good for everyone. So childcare is really about dignity. It's about equality. It's about growing our economy. If people can't afford or find childcare, they can't go to work. And when workers can't work, the economy doesn't move. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. We do have a media release that is on Childcare Now's website, which is childcarenow.ca. And at this point, I'll open up for questions if there are any.
Alessia Pasifumi with the Canadian Press. What changes do you think are on the agenda for the ministers at this meeting today?
Morna, do you want to take
Changes are they making?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these meetings and preparations for these meetings, of course, have gone on in closed doors, and there hasn't been sufficient sharing of information between governments and citizens and childcare advocates. But what we know from media reports, comments that have been made by some premiers and some ministers of education, that there's a big concern about the cost of the program and that they're looking for ways to cut back on the amount of public investment that was required to be able to achieve universally accessible childcare. So they may be looking at higher fees, deregulating fees, going back to the way childcare was organized prior to the 2021 federal budget initiative. So fees go up. Some parents, through means test or income testing, would be able to receive some public money to be able to pay the fees. But we know that the way that does not favor low-income families, does not favor lower income, middle income, or upper middle income families. In fact, it's a disservice to all. So what we're going to see if that happens, the deregulation of fees or the increase of fees or backing away from the commitment to reach an average of $10 a day for all children in licensed program, is that we're going to see greatly reduced access. Now, we may also see greatly reduced wait lists because parents will withdraw their names from the wait list when they can no longer afford the fee. And the other is that we know that some provinces and territories are wanting to expand for-profit commercial childcare, whereas the federal government's objective is to build a primarily not-for-profit system.
And the program is falling short in a number of areas like space creation. What should they be targeting first?
Go ahead. I didn't hear that.
Oh, can you just repeat it? Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
The program, as it is right now, is falling short. Like you mentioned, the wait lists. What part of that should governments be targeting first?
Well, we have seen increased access. We have seen significant growth, as I said, in the number of licensed spaces. Unfortunately, some of those licensed spaces have been created outside of the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Program, and so those spaces are actually not affordable for most families. But we're a big gap. First of all, there's a gap of about 90,000 spaces between what was promised by the federal, provincial, and territorial governments and what they've actually been able to create and license. And we would like to see a situation over time where there is enough affordable, licensed childcare in both center and family settings for upwards of 75 to 80% of children 0 to 5 years. Nordic countries who have built universal childcare have enough licensed childcare for 90 to 95% of young children. And we know that when childcare, licensed childcare is available, when it's affordable, parents want it and they take it up, and labor force participation increases, economic security of families increases, and the economy of countries with universal childcare programs are much more robust and much stronger and much able to withstand crises like the kind of economic crisis that Canada is in right now.
For reporters who joined on Zoom, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. Pour les journalistes qui sont joints à la conférence sur Zoom, si vous avez une question, s'il vous plaît, utilisez la fonction main levée. We'll start with one question and one follow-up. First off, Dave McGinn, please go ahead.
Hi, I was just wondering, Morna, what it signaled to you that there was no additional new money for childcare in the budget?
Did you get that? The question is, what did it signal to you that there was no new money, additional money in the federal budget?
Well, there was some additional money announced for early learning and childcare by the federal government before the last election. The federal government was able to secure new funding agreements with all provinces except 3, Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. And those agreements do include a 3% increase annually, but only starting in 2027, 2028. We were hoping that the federal government would actually budget more money in the 2025 federal budget, but in fact there was no additional money budgeted. We've also been looking very carefully at the provincial budgets that have been announced over time, and we're of course going to be looking very carefully at the next ones. But so far, provincial and territorial governments have failed to increase their funding commitments for early learning and childcare as well. And we really do think that that's what's behind many of the suggestions that the program needs to be changed. They're looking for ways to try to reduce public investment rather than increase it.
Any more questions?
Any further questions?
Thank you. This concludes the
very
press
much.
conference. Merci, c'est ce qui conclut cette conférence de presse.
Thank you very much.